It's time for Ted Nugent's Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus. It's the physics of spirituality with attitude. Brought to you by My Pillow.
What if you were a frontline doctor who tried to warn her country that we are all being lied to and that people don't have to die? What if you were censored and silenced, threatened and fired, but you refused to give up and you delivered the truth that we're all being lied to and people don't have to die? What if you were invited to the Capitol to speak to 1 million Americans and at the last moment you were silenced yet again? What if police then allowed thousands of people into the Capitol building and within that crowd you stood firm and delivered your speech so that America would know we're all being lied to and people don't have to die? And then, what if a dozen FBI agents broke down your door, swarmed you with automatic rifles, handcuffed you, and without reading you your rights, threw you in a jail cell for 4 days without even a phone call? How then could you expose the lies? How then could you reclaim your rights? What would you do to save lives? Because we're all being lied to, and people don't have to die.
Hey, John Brink, I had to open the floodgates of gonzo superhuman spirit. Let me start by saying greetings, John and Courtney and Herbert and everybody out there. And if I may, John,
yes,
unleash more love, more appreciation, more thankfulness than in my 72.4 years. I I've always known that there was unlimited love. I get it all my life. It's really quite a blessing. It's humbling beyond the English language description. But since since 2019, when I went all around the world during interviews saying that, hey, there's this thing called the Chinese virus. It's not the German measles. It's not the Spanish flu. It's not the West Nile virus. It isn't the Hong Kong flu. It's this new Chinese virus that's spreading all around. And all the media around the world agreed with me, and we all admitted the truth that hey, there's a Wuhan virus spreading across the globe. I admitted it thousands of times. And then all of a sudden, identifying it honestly based on the scientific and medical community, no surprise that and I'd like to call them liberals, I'd like to call them Democrats, but I'm going to come right out. Here it is, the 27th of April, 2021. And I'm afraid the other side now is deep into the Satanist camp when they condemn a cop for saving a black child's life from being stabbed to death, when the whole globe goes berserk lying that I claim there was no such thing as a Chinese virus, when I'm on record, video, audio, writings, interviews, podcasts, where I said, oh yeah, yes, there is. It's affirmative. There is a Chinese virus. And then I got tested positive, like millions of other people. In fact, my good friend from Leonard Skinner, Van Zant, he took the vaccine last week and he got tested positive today. I thought I would also mention that people that have been wearing masks and got the vaccine got the Chinese virus. That's not a Ted Nugent thing. It's certainly anything but racist. It's actually a genuine, loving, caring acknowledgement that there is a health issue. And our guests tonight are probably the most dedicated Hippocratic Oath medical experts in the world who have delved into this through studies that have lasted over 60 years, going back to the utilization of hydroxychloroquine. And Simone and I are now on the remedy that millions of people have taken and cured the Chinese virus. Hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, steroids, lots of C, D, zinc, oil of oregano, lots of rest, and plenty of hydration. And I'm here to report, John, that since being tested, all my vital signs, it's like I'm the fastest hot rod at the drag strip, where all my horsepower and all my torque and my oxygen levels and my heart rate and my pulse and all my vital signs that I monitor throughout the day are all perfecto. And I attribute it to the frontline doctors who came out and said what I said, and what everybody who's honest said, is that Dr. Fauci is a scam artist. The WHO is an arm of the communist government, and the CDC is virtually untrustworthy, or anything to do with this new satanic cult in the White House. So I'm here to report that the love, the support, the prayers, the Spirit Campfire positive energy that I have been bombarded with every day from every imaginable corner of the globe has humbled me to the core. Thank you, good people of the world. Thank you for your love, your support. I mean, John, it's literally the most emotional and sincere celebration of the best people in the world that have rallied around the old goofy guitar player. And my love is reciprocal. And you people have literally, along with the frontline doctors, by the way, our guest tonight is Dr. Simone Gold of the frontline doctors, who was banned from social media because she actually offered documented scientific, professional medical proof on how to fight the Chinese virus. I'm gonna open up here for you, John, because it's fascinating that professional, dedicated, lifetime medical pros came forward on the steps of the Capitol, along with many doctors. By the way, John, all of whom have been treating me, they all came. They came from around the world. They go, Uncle Ted, we got the stuff. Uncle Ted, don't worry, we got you covered. Uncle Ted, we're sending a plane and we're taking you to the UT Medical Center, and we got you, man. John, I could literally cry for you right now. Yeah. It was so powerful. And I know not everybody gets somebody send a private plane. I know that doesn't happen. But because I have a big mouth, i.e. participating in this sacred experiment in self-government, I am you. I am those people who love. I am those people who want to cure. I am those who have a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. So Dr. Simone Gold was not only banned from helping her fellow man, but then the FBI kicked down her door and arrested her for offering aid to sick Americans. Let that sink in. So Dr. Simone Gold will be our guest tonight because this woman, she's the angel of mercy, along with Dr. Dennis, Dr. Brian Proctor, Dr. Paul, my good friend Jack Brittingham, who saw how sick I was, and he immediately dropped everything and took a huge shovel into his bank account and brought a plane. And John, to be surrounded by people who will give up everything for you is the spirit of the Spirit Campfire. It is just beautiful.
You know, Ted, first of all, I'm very, very glad that you're alive and obviously well.
I'm paralyzed right now. Believe me, there was a couple days, John. I never am a sympathy guy. I'm a tough guy. I'd rather err on the side of tough guy. John, 5-6 days ago, it was really scary.
Wow.
I didn't think I was going to make it, John.
Oh, my Lord.
I literally couldn't function for about 20 hours, and then they came and they rescued me.
Oh, my God.
I'm not a scary guy. I like to chase grizzly bears with sharp sticks, and I'm a fanatic for rush hour in a rent-a-car. I like danger, but I've never been so scared in all my life.
Ted, I've heard obviously all kinds of stories. So many people have been sick, but what was different about this illness? What happened to you, or what is happening? I imagine you're coming on the other side, but why? How was this different?
Well, that's a great question, because there's a lot of people suffering out there. And I'm going to bounce around a lot. I'm really good at bouncing around. Yeah. There are a lot of people suffering, and John Brenkus will do everything you can to reduce suffering. I know, duh.
Of course.
My family, my friends, my neighbors. What can I do, Ted? What do you need? But before I celebrate those that come to the aid of suffering and what my suffering smelled like, thank God I've got millions of love from millions of loving people. Mm-hmm. But do you know, John, that we have got letters and emails where people are rejoicing at others' suffering. Mm-hmm. Literally offering prayers that my children and I suffer and die. That's why I used the word Satan a moment ago, because it's not just a disagreement. It's not just an ideology debate. We're talking people who love and would give and provide aid versus people who are demonic in their hate. So let me review my detailed suffering so other people can learn what I've learned. I've had the flu 3 or 4 times in my life, to the point where I'm in bed and I'm giving birth to swampage. I mean, I go through 6 boxes of Kleenex an hour. Okay, that's the flu, and you got a headache and you got body aches. Maybe you got some diarrhea. I never had that. Just overall pain. You know, I don't struggle to express myself. John, the 6'2", 225-pound headache was like nothing I have ever experienced. I mean, from my tip of my toes to the top of my hair, I literally was dizzy and weak and struggled to get up to go to the bathroom. And I would lay in the bathtub a couple times a day with water as hot as I could take it, just to divert. So those extremes have dissipated, but everybody out there, obviously, smoking, drinking, drugs, tobacco, stupid food, that's number one self-inflicted suffering. Just, I beg of you people, the people that have died have been obese, smokers, drinkers, substance abusers. Not all of them, John, but I think it's a good general plea of caring. Smoking, drinking, drugs, bad food, too much food. Just love yourself. Stop it. Nobody needs to smoke. No, all right, a beer's better for you than a Coca-Cola. Way better. In fact, I just as soon buy a beer instead of Coca-Cola these days. But take good care of your sacred temple. Treat it with the respect that it deserves. Smart food, real meat and fish and poultry with real organic vegetables, cooked in real oil and real butter, with intelligent, responsible portions. And I know a lot of people go, well, mind your own business, Ted. You know, all the people that were praying for me, they didn't mind their own business. They wanted to help me. And all I'm doing is offering proven, sound advice. And that's how you already live. Nobody had to tell you that, John. Nobody has to tell most of us. But I know there's a lot of people out there where the medical community has determined that 96 to 98% prior to the Chinese virus, you realize 96% to 98% of health problems are due to direct choices. Literally telling Mr. Han to pick up Mr. Poison and put it in Mr. Mouth. How about just... You know, John, I caused my sister Kathy to almost beat me because I said, Kathy, and she's listening right now, she knows I love her. And here's a hard one for you, John. Ready? Mm-hmm. My sister Kathy cried her eyes out at my mother's grave. My mom smoked. And Kathy, she could have swam home in the tears. Mm. And then she lit up. So I said to Kathy one day, I said, Kathy, what do you want me to tell Brennan and Rachel at your grave? And she goes, what are you talking about? And I go, simple question. What do you want me to tell your son and daughter at your grave? Do you want me to tell them it was just too delicious to be at your wedding? It was just too delicious to be there when my granddaughter was born. And she said, well, that's a horrible thing to say. And I know Kathy's watching, but that's how much I love her. I said, what do you want to tell me? What do you want me to tell him at the grave? Because I'm going to have to. Unless you stop. My sister Kathy, with balls of T-Rex, cold turkey right then and there.
That's right. That's right. You know, Ted, what's interesting is you and I live very similar lives in terms of what we put in our body and what our overall philosophy is on what the right thing to do is health wise. Here's something that's interesting. And I have been, throughout 2020 and into 2021 now, I've been seizing the day more than ever. And, it's like I bought that motorcycle and I go out, on the lake all the time. And I'm always doing stuff with my family, my friends, and my kids. And what's interesting is how at peace I am that should something happen to me.
Yes.
Because if it does, I've done my best. Like if I get sick and if God forbid I pass away, it's not like I got sick because I was doing heroin.
Because you were
I did what I could. And I think that if we just wrap our minds around, you can only do what you can do. So do the right thing. At least be the master of your own life. At least say, well, you know what? It's not unfair because that bug that got me, and I did my best leading up to that. But
Sure.
when the bug, whatever it is, if it gets you and you say to yourself, oh man, I really wish I wasn't smoking 2 packs a day, it kind of is on you. Like you didn't do your best to ward that off. Now, for those who don't care, and there are a lot of people who just say, I am willing to trade, cigarettes or alcohol or drugs or whatever it is for life. There are a lot of people who do think like that. And I'm not even going to say you're totally wrong. I'm just saying that's just a reality you have to live with. And many people will say, I will live with that, and that's fine. But that's where life comes into play, where you need to be selfless. Do you think your kids are okay with that?
Yes.
Your siblings are okay with that? Probably
Anybody. That's a really important point. And if I may, during all this, I struggled a lot to remain tuned in and vibrant. Simone just took such wonderful care of me, and the doctors took such wonderful care of me, and the communication I got. But I maintained my activism. And when you talk about selflessness, when you talk about, all right, I'm going to make a decision for my own life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, but does it compromise my loved one's happiness? Does it compromise my fellow man's happiness? Let me give you another example. We started this hunternation.org. I'm going to talk about this because it goes all the way back to my first encounter celebrating the heroes of the military. We started Hunter Nation to make sure that God, family, country was the battle cry for our elected employees' responsibility. Well, there are 2 organizations in Montana. John, the Montana bow hunters, I just don't know what happened. And an organization started by the Barack Obama Democrats called the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And today, they lobbied hard, the Montana bow hunters and the backcountry hunters and anglers, all the who's of the Democrat Party out there in Montana. They stopped a bill, John, that would have allowed handicapped veterans to hunt in Montana with a crossbow. I mean, I'm going to say that again. 2 groups that call themselves hunting conservationists, or the Montana bow hunters, shame on you, and the backcountry, actually the backstabber, hunters and anglers. It was started by the Obama team to infiltrate anti-hunters into hunting policy. They refused to pass a bill to allow handicapped heroes of the military to hunt during the archery season with a crossbow.
What was the rationale?
I cannot imagine. Why would Joe Biden go to make an announcement you don't need to wear a mask outside as he parades forward wearing a mask outside? So there's a lot of, wonder why they did that. But I could go on and on, but we do have an unbelievable guest, an absolute hero warrior. Courtney, once again, please play the intro for the great frontline doctors and my new angel of mercy, Dr. Simone Gold. I want to see this intro one more time.
What if you were a frontline doctor who tried to warn her country that we are all being lied to and that people don't have to die? What if you were censored and silenced, threatened and fired, but you refused to give up and you delivered the truth that we're all being lied to and people don't have to die? What if you were invited to the Capitol to speak to 1 million Americans and at the last moment you were silenced yet again? What if police then allowed thousands of people into the Capitol building and within that crowd you stood firm and delivered your speech so that America would know we're all being lied to and people don't have to die? And then, what if a dozen FBI agents broke down your door, swarmed you with automatic rifles, handcuffed you, and without reading you your rights, threw you in a jail cell for 4 days without even a phone call? How then could you expose the lies? How then could you reclaim your rights? What would you do to save lives? Because we're all being lied to, and people don't have to die.
The foundation of the Spirit Campfire was always about, and continues to be, to celebrate positive energy, love, compassion, empathy, caring, sacrifice, and risk-taking for your fellow man. And Courtney, is Dr. Simone Gold with us right now? Because we're going to find out where this incredible lady came from and the risks and the sacrifice that she took. She didn't know she was taking risks. She didn't know she had a sacrifice. She was taking forward and delivering sound medical, professional, experienced advice and remedies during an outbreak of a virus that erupted out of China. And she has been literally banned from the town square. She has been censored, suppressed, and oppressed in social media, thereby limiting life-saving professional medical advice for her fellow man. Dr. Simone Gold, you are the queen of the Spirit Campfire. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for that warm welcome.
Well, Doc, tell us where you came from and lead us up to that moment where you were following your heart, your instincts, your Hippocratic oath to help your fellow man. And you probably didn't imagine that you were taking a risk. What you were doing was so perfect and pure. Tell us about how you delivered that message, and then the perfect and pure stuff was viciously attacked.
Right. So I'm a board certified emergency physician practicing on the front lines for more than 20 years. Whether or not there's a pandemic, you can find me. I take care of patients with heart attacks, broken hips, asthma, whatever. So I was watching the COVID-19, as it came to America, and I was reading all the literature. I had a special interest in this because I'm interested in health policy. I also went to Stanford University Law School, and I also am a lawyer. So I was watching the whole thing, and I knew that early treatment worked because I was reading all the early studies from Didier Raoult in France and studies even in China, Dr. Zelenko up north of Manhattan, et cetera. So when we first got our first confirmed COVID positive cases, of course, I prescribed early treatment, hydroxychloroquine and zinc, of course. And despite the fact that it became so politicized, I was shocked that my own medical director threatened to fire me. And the governor sent out threatening letters to doctors like me that if we did that, we could possibly lose our license. That's why I started speaking out publicly. It was offensive to me as a human being, and it was offensive to me as a doctor that I could not take care of patients effectively, and as a human being that I should let somebody suffer or possibly die when I had something that I knew would help them. Well,
it's like 1 + 1 = 2. You study health. You're a doctor. You've worked in these arenas. You speak out from your heart, where your methodologies have been proven to save lives, to mitigate suffering, and then this. I know it sounds hyperbole.
I'll just share with you, Ted. The way I first started speaking out publicly was not even for hydroxychloroquine and zinc. Right, because that was kind of up to the doctor, each doctor, and they, we were facing retribution from our hospitals or the governors. But I spoke out on the lockdowns, actually. I organized a lot of doctors and we sent a letter to the president saying that the lockdowns were hurting people. This, I believe it was in April, I think it was April 2020. We called the lockdowns a mass casualty incident. And the reason we chose those words is in trauma events, a large car accident, for example, that involved, on a highway that involved a semi-tractor and all that, you triage people according to red, yellow, blue, and red, yellow, green. And the people that are in extreme situation are red, but then there's yellow and then there's green. And you understand that if you let the yellows and the greens deteriorate, they're going to move up to a worse category. That's what we were doing with the lockdowns. There's 150,000 cancer screenings that went missing every month. 40 to 50% of strokes went missing every month. 40 to 50% of heart attacks went missing every month. And this is what we were concerned about. We were telling people to stay home, lockdown, et cetera, and it was hurting people. Slipping into poverty. Poverty is the biggest risk factor for poor health outcomes. This is really why we came out and spoke publicly. Later on, we started speaking out more noticeably about the early treatment. The censorship that we have received, disinformation, defamation, et cetera, but just the censorship that the American people still don't know that there's early treatment that absolutely works. Hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, budesonide, early treatment works.
Ditto. Go ahead, John.
Doctor, I'm really curious about this. You've obviously been practicing medicine for a really long time. And, I have family members who have been in medicine their whole lives as well. And don't doctors have the discretion to prescribe what they think is going to work? There are all kinds of things like, there have been studies about cough syrup helping depression. There are, all kinds of things where it's like, hey, you wouldn't think that this would work and it wasn't made for it. But as a doctor, I'm going to prescribe it to you because I think that it works. Doesn't that happen all the time? And I believe the answer is yes. And what happened with this particular virus where doctors lost their own discretion?
Right. So what happened was we were flat out threatened by our employers and our governors. Now I am a daughter of a doctor. I've been in medicine really since I was born. We had an office in our house. I've watched medicine for the last, many, many decades. There's never been any situation like this where you had an FDA approved medication. All of a sudden the governor comes and your hospital employer says, thou shalt not prescribe this ordinary FDA approved medication. It's never happened. Not only has it never happened, as you alluded to, doctors frequently do things differently than each other. Frequently, 30% of drugs are used off-label all the time. So that was another lie that the American public fell for, unfortunately. But we use drugs off-label. Morphine for severe pain in a 16-year-old who broke his leg in a car accident, that's off-label, right? We use off-label. Off-label means you don't have permission to market it for that condition, but that the drug is safe and it's been used for another condition. So you might have an antibiotic that's approved for pneumonia, but it's not approved for urine infections. But doctors, as they go about their daily work, they've learned, this also works for urinary tract infections. They start using it. They don't go back to get an on-label authorization for it because it's very, very expensive and the doctors are using it anyway. So that was another lie. We were told you can't use it because it's off-label. Off-label is a meaningless distinction to a doctor. One of the shames that has come out this year is the total erosion of the doctor-patient relationship. It's been completely eviscerated by the government. The government empowered pharmacists to get in between doctors and their patients. I have nothing against pharmacists, but they don't have as much training. They also don't sit and talk to the patient for a while. And unfortunately, most pharmacists are now employees of large corporations and themselves have to watch their jobs. So the worst tragedy was when a doctor who was awake enough to realize hydroxychloroquine and zinc worked would prescribe it, but then the pharmacists, especially at chain pharmacies, refused to fill it. This is flat out against the law. It's pharmacists practicing medicine without a license. But we're up against.
And what's crazy, Ted, and correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, but listen, Ted and I live as clean a life as possible. I wonder. The same sort of, hey, you're not allowed to prescribe these drugs. I'm not exactly sure why, but how many people go to the doctor and get prescribed an opioid because they say my wrist is hurting me, and then they become addicted to it, and that's an off-label use. And I just haven't heard anybody who couldn't get opioids. It seems like they're handed that out like candy, But then hydroxychloroquine, which obviously has been taken literally billions of times by billions of people around the world, all of a sudden you just can't get that drug.
Yeah.
What is it about that drug that
so let me share with you, this is really fun stuff when you start learning about it, because at first we all thought that the media dumped on hydroxychloroquine because this was some variation of, Orange Man bad. He said it might look good, so then you had to hate on it, right? That's what we all thought initially, but that's really not the case. So when you go and you look at the emergency use authorization, which is allowing the vaccines to be rolled out to hundreds of millions of people in America and across the world, one of the required variables to be authorized as an emergency use is that there's no other approved treatment, right? Taking hydroxychloroquine, budesonide, ivermectin out of the picture was a prerequisite to rolling out a vaccine that was just developed over the last few months. This is the reason. It's really criminal. So I don't talk politics, out in the public. That's not where this is coming from. I'm coming as a physician and I'm saying we're rolling out this experimental drug that's been conceived, 6 months ago, I've lost track of time, 8 months ago. It's an emergency use only, it's investigational stages only. Moderna, the trials don't get out until end of 22, Pfizer, middle of 2023. And we're saying that is okay to take, but this other drug that's been FDA approved for 65 years, given billions of times across the planet to infants, pregnant women, nursing mothers, the elderly, that's not safe. That disconnect is so massive that there's something else going on. There's tremendous financial incentive to have pushed hydroxychloroquine out of the way and have propelled the vaccines to the forefront.
Well, Dr. Gold, I'm here to thank you on behalf of, I don't know if it's millions, I suspect it is millions of people like Simone and I who got on the frontline doctor regimen, and immediately a light switch went on for us. So thank you for being brave and defying the power-abusing criminal monsters that would absolutely stand in the way of treating your fellow man. But let's get to just how horrible this is. Okay, they lie. They scam. Fauci's the master scam artist. WHO is virtually untrustworthy. CDC, virtually untrustworthy. Anything government, as far as I'm concerned, virtually untrustworthy today. But your house is raided by armed thugs for doing your job as a doctor. I don't want to get past this because everybody listening needs to know how evil this government administration is, that they would sic the FBI on a doctor who is following your training to save lives. And let me make it perfectly clear. I am the #1 law enforcement promoter, but the FBI has lost its soul. If ever there was an American bureaucracy that turned into a jackbooted thuggery, it's the FBI. Tell us how you survived that frightening experience of being jackbooted by a bunch of armed thugs from the FBI.
It was very, very difficult. I was working and we heard an unbelievable loud banging on the door, screaming FBI, FBI, FBI. I did not think it was real. It just doesn't strike you that could be happening. And it took me about a minute and they said they were going to break the door down, and I was approaching the door and they broke the door down, and about 20 guys came in with guns pulled out, aimed at me, 4 feet away from me. I've never been in a situation like this. Handcuffed, shackled, the whole bit. I just want to say as an aside, because I'm an attorney as well, that I just noticed so many civil rights violations. They don't read you your rights. I didn't get an attorney phone call. It's a horrific situation. And I want to say to people who are listening, who think that this kind of stuff isn't real or isn't happening in America, it's absolutely happening. I mean, I'm as protected a person as could be. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, a law-abiding citizen, a mom, and this happened to me. Another thing about you're saying about the FBI, what's really corrupt, if you have to put 20 FBI guards on me with guns, I had a legal weapon in my home. They knew it. I told them where it was. When I got back home, that gun of mine was laying out on my bed, opened, they opened the case and they left it there. How do you reconcile that I'm both dangerous enough for 20 guys to break my door down, but you're going to leave my weapon there? Pick a side. It's obvious that they know that what they're doing is not justified.
Well, Doctor, on behalf of good American families everywhere, thank you for your courage and your Hippocratic oath. We thank you for that. And also on behalf of good American families everywhere, we are so sorry that a good woman, a good American like you, was so abused by the most powerful armed force in the United States of America in 2021. It's heartbreaking, it's unforgivable, and the Nugent family and everybody at the Spirit Campfire, believe me, the amount of love coming your way, I'm sure you know how much love there is, but believe Uncle Ted when I tell you, good families, not just around America, but around the world, know that you were banned from the town square to help your fellow man. Know that you were abused by the jackbooted thugs of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. No wonder they go under a heading that says J. Edgar Hoover. No wonder they allowed a James Comey and a Louis Freeh to burn down the Branch Davidians. I could go on. And this might sound like hyperbole, but my words have iron. I have not made up one sentence yet. This is all documented abuse of power to a demonic criminal degree. So Dr. Simone Gold, you tell all those frontline doctors, thank you. You're saving people's lives. Shemaine and I are a perfect example of how your remedy has been proven, and it brings health and quality of life back, literally in some instances overnight. Sometimes I have some buddies where it's been taking 6 or 8 weeks. Everybody reacts different, but we're on our way, aren't we?
Yes, I want to say one more thing about the arrests is that, again, as a lawyer, I know a lot about the law. They've done some things that were flat out illegal. I was put on a no-fly list. Now, the reason that's particularly illegal is there's no adjudication of anything where I should be punished and put on a no-fly list. That's something that the executive branch just did on its own. The judge even said that this was inappropriate. But nonetheless, that's where we're at. So these are the fights that I'm in. I want to reassure the American people that americasfrontlinedoctors.org is never giving in. And in fact, we see ourselves as a civil rights organization.
Sure.
If I can share with you, there's 2 things that we're so excited to tell you about. One is that we launched like a legal resource page. And this is to help all the people that they want to fight back, right? They say, I don't want to wear the mask, or I don't want to get an experimental medication. What do I do? You can find all the information on our site on the legal resource page. And we want to pair you with an attorney to fight if you think you've got a case that you want to take all the way. The other thing is our Citizen Corps at America's Frontline Doctors, because the people are going to have to fight for our rights. The governments are trying to take it, federal and state are trying to take our rights away, but the power of the people can absolutely reverse this. Come join the Citizen Corps. Really, thousands and thousands have started to join, and it's only been about 2 or 3 weeks. Please come join. We want all of your fans. Ted, you've got a big
question.
case.
Yeah, I've got it, Ted. I've got one question, and I think this is the question that everybody wants to ask. First of all, your story is, I mean, when I say it's unbelievable, it's like, oh my God, that seems absolutely Looney Tune crazy. But if someone from, let's just call it the I don't even necessarily think we could say the other side. If somebody, though, making a counter argument were to say, yeah, she's not telling the whole story, is there anything that you were you were some serial criminal, like when you were 16,
no, I'm very transparent.
And you're on a list.
Let me share with you. So no, this had to do with I got arrested for being at the Capitol January 6th. Really quick, I was invited guest speaker when I arrived to speak. They had canceled all the talks. Nobody knows why to this day. You can speculate now that it was a bit of a setup because there's all this like restless human energy. But where I was an invited speaker. So I was kind of at the head of the crowd. There's probably 50 or 80,000 or 100,000 people behind us. We were on the west side with the beautiful steps and completely peaceful. People were singing Back the Blue. It was totally peaceful. Somehow the doors open. They open from the inside. Myself and many thousands of others of people walked inside. And while inside, I gave my speech. There's videotape of me giving the speech, walking between the ropes, and that was it. That's all they're ever going to discover, because that's all there ever was. And I feel terrible as an American that this is where our country is. It's all about free speech, and that's it. It's the whole story.
I want you to know that my son Toby and Courtney and Linda, I have a great team, and we have quite a reach. I've always had a big mouth because I dare to experiment in self-government, and I dare to participate as a we the people electing official, to holding my elected employees to constitutional accountability. I'm such a radical. And I want you to know that on the front page of my website, on my social media, in my writings, I do media all the time. I'm going to promote everything that you just talked about. I'm going to promote the frontline doctors. I'm going to promote your website and all these new activities that you're involved with, because this really is a civil rights battle cry where we the people have rights to professional medical proven treatment at the discretion of professional licensed doctors. You're doing God's work, and the devil doesn't like it. And I don't need to know why they're doing this. All I know is that they're doing it. It's wrong. You're doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. Good American families are promoting good and righteous, caring, empathetic, compassionate love and support, and the devil doesn't like it. So God bless you. You're a great one. I'm glad you don't play guitar, because I'd have to practice. You really are a frontline angel. You tell all those frontline doctors that the good families of America love them madly, and that we're getting better because of your courage, your wisdom, and your Hippocratic oath.
Ted, first of all, I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. americasfrontlinedoctors.org. We also have a petition on the site. That petition is going to be used to try to talk to policymakers and business leaders, especially airline CEOs, because I think they're going to go down the path of mandating experimental medication, which is against the Nuremberg Code, Helsinki Code, federal statute. So that stop medical discrimination on our site. It's super important that people sign it, please.
We're going to promote it. Dr. Simone, thank you for your effort. Thank you for joining us here. You really are a spirit campfire partner, and we're going to continue to promote all the good that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Well, John and Courtney, I mean that. I want to get Dr. Simone's, all her links and all her websites, and Toby and Linda and everybody out there. This is a battle cry for good over evil, and the government alphabet soup bureaucracies have just proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're untrustworthy. And I, from my own experience and from many, many friends of mine, John, I've heard from thousands of people that are using hydroxychloroquine, that are using ivermectin, that are using the steroids, the D, the C, the zinc, the magnesium at night. I mean, these methodologies, it's not like the jury is still out. Right. They've proven, and we've got to promote this stuff that'll make people well again.
Here's something, Ted. I first of all, I really, God bless. I'm so glad you're doing great, because you're so with it and so sharp. And those days, where you were feeling like it might be the end, I can't imagine how scared you were. But the one thing that I was really disappointed, I was really truly disappointed in. You clearly did not put out a press release saying, "Hey, I got COVID-19." You came on the Spirit Campfire. You did some interviews. You told people, "Hey, I got COVID." And if anybody just search it, do an internet search on Ted Nugent COVID, the tenor and tone of all of the articles
is vicious.
It's so we're so glad. I'm like, even the way it's phrased, and I was so profoundly disappointed that let's just take the facts. A 72.4-year-old man is sick. Like, is that like, like, why be anything other than, I hope he gets better. I mean, he's sick. And any of the articles and all the time, Ted, I would love for you to be me just for a little bit of time, just so you can, when you encounter people, because people ask me all the time, why are you doing the Spirit Campfire with Ted? Like, why that? And I'm always like, because I like him. And I think he and I really get along, and we have a great rapport, and it doesn't need to go beyond that.
Well,
I like him.
Let's just put the word ego in the dustbin where it belongs. Bottom line is, I have dedicated my life to do good.
Yeah.
I'm a good man. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I'm a good neighbor. I'm a good conservationist. I'm a good entrepreneur. I do good. I intentionally and conscientiously dedicate myself to good. I use the word Satan at the beginning of this campfire, which some people go, well, that's hyperbole. Oh, you bet it is. But when people witness a guy like Ted Nugent, who's had a Ted Nugent Camp for Kids nonprofit children's charity for 31 years, and then the Huffington Post and Rolling Stone magazine and CNN and MSNBC call me a pedophile as parents bring their young boys and girls to my children's charity for 32 years, that's Satan. That is pure evil. They hate me because I'm an asset to my fellow man, and I do good. I genuinely dedicate myself to do good. Who hates doing good? Evil hates doing good, which brings me, as we wrap up the Spirit Campfire, John, I don't care on a personal level that there's that hate and vicious evil leveled at me. As on a personal level, I got my dogs, I got my kids, I got Simone, I got an open mic to the globe, I have unlimited love, I'm a good bow and arrow shooter, I have fun with my guitar, I got life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So it doesn't bother me on a personal level. My personal thing is so cool, it's stupid. But on a human level, John, you've been around. Have you ever encountered a human being that rejoices others' suffering? Have you ever met that person?
And what I love to point out is your phraseology of things is, I mean, we certainly know where you stand, and we certainly know how you feel. Regardless of the labels that you may put on something, you really believe it, and you have a right to say and believe what you want. That asset and liability philosophy that you've always had, I ask people just to step back and say, let's just for a moment, let's say that your speech, someone thinks it goes too far. Let's just hypothetically say, it's gone too far.
But many people, it does go too far because I don't play games.
Right. Even if someone says, he's talking about the devil and he's talking about evil and and we don't know, I don't know if it's metaphorical or if it's literal or whatever. I do fall back on, I get what you're saying. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. I know where you stand. And if people just stand back for a moment and just think to themselves, is this good? Are we doing good? Are we doing harm? There's a lot that each person needs to analyze themselves. The good doctor who was on, look, I don't know. I obviously have never met her. She's incredibly intelligent and articulate. I'm trying to figure out, well, is there more to this story? Because it seems so strange. I will accept her telling the truth. I will assume she told the truth. I'll do my own research and, see if there is anything else. But I imagine that there probably isn't. But as a good citizen will say, I'll do my own research, just like my own experience with Ted Nugent. I'm doing my own empirical research. And Ted, before we sign off, I do want to say, I have been praying for you. My family has been praying for you. And I'm really grateful that we met. And here's the only reason why I know you're going to make it. And I know that you are going to get on the other side. I didn't have that feeling, that deep feeling like, oh my God, you know how many times I checked in with you and I didn't receive back the SOS, this is it. And I was like, all right, I think he's going to make it. But Ted, when that day comes, you know I'm flying down. I'm there by your side with millions of other people because you really have been an asset.
Well, thank you, John. And everybody out there, stand your ground. Do not compromise. Make a choice, your body, your choice. I don't believe the masks work. I think that's a scam. I wouldn't trust the vaccine. Nobody can tell you what's in it. If you want to take the vaccine, take the vaccine. But you should know the facts that people who have taken the vaccine have been tested positive after taking the vaccine. People that wear masks and social distance have been tested after wearing masks and social distancing, and they've been tested positive. So make your own choice, and John's advice is very sound. I want to also once again celebrate another guy who is attacked because he does good. My buddy Mike Lindell at MyPillow, and I'm going to read this because I want everybody out there. By the way, John, I have proof, the evidence. Speaking of the evidence, what Dr. Simone Gold shared with us tonight, the evidence supports her. The statements that I've made tonight and on every campfire, I have the evidence. I have empirical, I have scientific, I have recent and historical evidence to support everything I stand for. And I have evidence that when I talk about Mike Lindell and MyPillow.com, that people buy MyPillow stuff by the truckload.
Dude, king of the segue right there.
I want everybody to go to MyPillow.com. I love Mike Lindell. He's been demonized because he's a good man. He's an entrepreneur solidly in the asset column. The dogs love the MyPillow beds. Simone and I love the towels and the pillowcases and the sheets. We love the pillows. Go to MyPillow.com and click on radio listener specials. Use my promo code SPIRIT, all capital letters, SPIRIT. Use the promo code SPIRIT, and they'll know that you're my Spirit Campfire blood brother. You'll get a great discount and a great deal on the sheets, the towels, and the most important MyPillow product, the camouflage dog beds. I literally spoon Coco. I take turns spooning Coco, Happy, and Sadie on the camouflage MyPillow dog bed. So thank you, Mike Lindell, for your support. And I'm also going to rave about a couple other things, John, really important.
I got one thing to say after that, and then we can sign
off. I'm with you. A great family out of the Kansas City area. They are young Americans reaching out to help their fellow Americans. It's called FullCircleProgram.com. People, please write that down. FullCircleProgram.com. This is a rehab center that was created by young people where they have a genuine love relationship with their fellow young friends, and they're saving lives. It's called FullCircleProgram.com. They're doing God's work. They're making incredible sacrifices, taking risks, and dealing with peer pressure to help save lives of their fellow young Americans. And I also got a nice thank you here from the college Republicans at Baylor University, where I was honored to speak to the young Republicans at Baylor University. And I gave them a dose of Uncle Ted, truth, logic, common sense, we the people, God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, 10 Commandments, Golden Rule, law and order, goodwill and decency, positive spirit and energy. So thank you to the Baylor College Republicans, and also the FullCircleProgram.com. They're doing God's work, much like the frontline doctors. So let's get a script for every campfire coming up to promote Dr. Simone Gold's contact.
Yeah.
Toby and Linda, who are watching right now, I want it front and center on my website, on all my social media. And I'm going to leave it with you, John. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you everyone for your love and support. I am getting better, and it's because of Dr. Simone Gold's and the frontline doctors' proven methodologies and the immeasurable love and support from the best people all around the world. Literally, John, New Zealand, Australia, and Ireland, and Scotland, and England.
It's always New Zealand.
Spain, and Germany, and Finland, and across Canada. I mean, I have such an army of love out there that I'm surprised I don't just gag on it.
But here is my parting words for this episode, and this has been a very special episode of Spirit Campfire. I think obviously nobody speaks on behalf of Ted, but I'll speak on behalf of myself around this campfire. I think in everything, every aspect of your life, everything, religion, family, nutrition, like just anything, in every aspect, question, research, come to a conclusion. Don't be a sheep. Don't just do what everybody, and when you hear about COVID and you hear this topic, it's no different than anything else in your life. You have a right to research whether or not you think there is a God, and you're allowed to decide if you are a believer or if you're an atheist. And you should not just say, well, I believe in God because everybody else believes in God, and I guess I should do that. You shouldn't do that. You should think for yourself. So on COVID, when it comes to taking the vaccine, or it comes to if you're wearing a mask, do your own research and arrive at your own conclusion, just like you can arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not God exists, or whether or not you should be nice to your kids, or whether or not you should give somebody a lending hand. Research and try to decide, what should I do? And that's your own individual choice. And I personally, I can totally understand why some people want to take the vaccine and some people don't. Some people want to wear masks and some people don't. Hey, make up your own mind. Don't let one person drive you. Be your own person, and just know I love you just the same. Just extend that love to everybody else.
Yep. Boy, I've been bombarded with it, and I may wrap up the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire with John Brankus by letting you know that
it's official.
You want to just drive people crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's official right there. He's announcing it.
You can get those at tednugent.com. During my Chinese virus wrestling match, I signed a couple thousand of these. You can get these come and take it autographed hats. And you can get I did probably 5,000 of these. The come and take it flag is now available. But John, thank you. Courtney, thank you. Linda, Toby, everybody, thank you, America. Dave from Pennsylvania, and all my friends across the land, Greg Gutfeld and Tucker Carlson, people just sending unbelievable amounts of love to me. And your prayers are absolutely working. I'm going to keep up with the hydroxychloroquine, with the ivermectin, the steroids, the C, the D, the zinc, the B12. I'm going to get plenty of fluids. I'm drinking this hydration good stuff here with the electrolytes. And most importantly, Nurse Shemaine. There's a touch that Nurse Shemaine has that we played. Do you ever play doctor when you were a kid? We've been playing doctor.
Easy. Oh, God. Now we got to sign off. Come on.
I'll see you guys. Thank you, Courtney. I'll see you guys next Monday. Thanks, everybody, for your patience and your love.